one. I have made you co-host. Is it okay?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay.
जो भी आएगा मैं उसे ऐड
Please,
करूँगा.
please allow whenever learners are joining because ma'am will be busy in teaching. So
Yeah.
please admit them.
जी जरूर.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, once again, welcome to all of you. Now going to this session. Last time I left something, I think science and technology. Anyone who can recall last session where I got leave science and technology, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, go. Before going to my lecture, I am going to share my PPT. Is it visible?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let me check.
Now
It's visible, I think.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It,
Now it's
it is coming, ma'am.
Okay. This is. Give me 1 minute. Okay. This thing I have told you, science and technology. Just a minute.
Ma'am, the screen is blank. However, it is coming, but it is blank now.
Okay. Now it's okay, I think. It's okay.
no, ma'am. It's not.
It is not. It has not yet come.
What happened?
Yeah, it's coming. It's okay, ma'am. It's okay. Yeah, it has gone again.
Gone again. Wait. Network issue, maybe. Now it's okay, I think. Is it
It has not
visible?
yet come.
Maybe it's coming.
Not yet, ma'am.
What happened?
Yeah, it come. It has come now.
Okay.
It's fine now.
Okay. Now I have already taught us science and technology for rural development. Now come to the green revolution. As I told you, green revolution, but I will tell you little bit. Green revolution means it is related to agriculture in India, and it began in 1960, and it was converted into modern industrial system by the adoption of technology. And it is in this green revolution, like use of high yield uh, variety seeds and mechanized from farm tools, irrigation facilities, pesticides and fertilization. So one agricultural scientist, MS Swaminathan in India, he mainly led by the agriculture this revolution. And under the premiership of Congress leader Lal Bahadur Shastri and Indira Gandhi, the Green Revolution within India commenced in 1968, leading to increase in food grains production, especially in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. And major milestone in this undertaking were the development of high yielding variety of wheat, resistance strains of wheat. So the long term effect of green revolution have been analyzed by many analyzed by environmentalistic like Vandana Shiva and other who say that it caused greater environmental, financial and sociological problem like drought, rural indebtedness, farmer suicides. So some reports have shown soil deterioration from use of chemical which has led to collapse of agricultural system in many regions and in all countries and negatively affected the farmer food and water supply. But what is rationale for green revolution? I told you that this was first introduced in Punjab 1966 to 67 and as a part of program issued by international donor agencies and the government of India. During the British time, India's grain economy hinged on the unilateral relation of exploitation, and consequently, when India gains independent, the weakened country quickly became vulnerable to frequent famine, financial instability, and low productivity. And these factors form a rationale for implementation of the green revolution, and it is a development strategy in India. Like frequent famine 1964 and 1965 to 66, India experienced two major drought which led to food strategies and famine among the country growing population. So modern agricultural technology appeared to offer strategies and to counter the frequency of famine. And there is a debate regarding India's famine or prior to independence, with some arguing, and they were intensified by the British taxation and agrarian policies. So these are about the green revolution. Now come to the next slide. What is rural and urban development? If I say rural and urban development means rural and urban area is a two term and used to describe populated area. The main difference is urban and rural area are how many people live there and how built up the area are. But there is a more to than that. So it is important to understand perception of both urban and rural area and evolution of living space. So urban and rural area, as I told you, this is a two term and it based on a population. So if I say about what is urban area is a place of high population and high density, and it is characterized by their built of infrastructure. And rural area are the complete opposite of urban area and having low population and density whilst maintaining a lack of large infrastructure. So if say village in you can say like urban area as a dangerous and threatening with population from factories and vast amount of working class in living in poverty causing with them to turn away. So this is a urban and rural development. Now one sociologist and rural sociologist also said about rural development is a strategy uh, to enable a specific group of people, poor rural women and men, and to gain for themselves and their children more of they want and they need it. So it involved helping the poorest among those who seek a livelihood in a rural area to demand and control more of benefit of rural development. Now come to the next slide. This is a rural development theories. Now here one is there is many theories, but I would like to focus on some theories. Number one is a modernization theory. Modernization theory is this theory hold as a society become more economically modernized, wealthier and more educated, their political institution become increasingly liberal democratic. So the classical theory of modernization of 1950 and 1960, I think it is influentially articulated by Seymour Lipset, famous sociologist, and it drew on sociological analysis of Karl Marx, Emil Durkheim, and Max Weber, even Talcott Parsons too. So modernization theory was a dominant paradigm in the social sciences, and in 1950s and 60s saw resurgence after 1991. When one famous sociologist, Francis Fukuyama, wrote about the end of the Cold War as a confirmation on modernization theory. This theory is a subject of much debate among scholars. Even critics have highlighted case where industrialization did not prompt stable democratization, such as Japan, Germany, and Soviet Rus, as well as cases of democratic backsliding in economically advanced part of the Latin America. Other critique also said the causal relationship is reverse, like democracy is more likely to lead to economic modernization. So economic modernization help democracies survive but does not prompt democratization. Some other scholar also provide a supporting evidence showing economic development significantly predict and predict democratization. But I would like to little bit give a difference about globalization and modernization. Totally different. Both term is totally different. Globalization can be it can be defined as an integration of economic, political, and social culture, and it is argued that the globalization is related to spreading the modernization cross border. So this is all theory of modernization. Now come to the dependency theory. Dependency theory is also very important, in sociology and rural development. And without dependency theory is not complete, because um, in our discussion, this dependency theory is a development is comprised of characteristic of dependent economy. It means it approach to dependency and criticism of dependency theory. This theory evolved around 1950, and it is reaction to some earlier theory for the development. And this theory was theory have a main propounded by Prebisch, Suizy, Furtado, Gurnard Milner. They are given by they all theorists give this theory, but mainly the Rosenstein-Roden theory is a dependency theory, and it is called big push theory. Big push theory means the task of helping the underdeveloped area of poverty is to accelerate them along supposed common path of development by various means, such as investment, technology, transfer, closer integration into the world market. So dependency theory rejected this idea, and arguing the underprivileged, no, underdeveloped countries were not merely primarily version of developed countries. Rather, they have unique feature and structure of their own. So they are weaker member in the world market economy, and developed nation were never is an analogous person. Even dependency theories argue in opposition of free market economy, and underdeveloped country needed to reduce their connectedness with world market to they might pursue their own path. So one famous singer, Hans Singer and Ratin Probish, he said, he observed this term of trade, underdeveloped country relative to developed countries, and he had deteriorated over time. So the underdeveloped countries were able to purchase very fewer manufactured goods from the developed country in exchange for a given quantity of their raw material exports. So the advocate of dependency theory believe the theory of Smith Ricardo, famous economist, and European classical economists are not suitable for analysis of dualistic dependent structure of many nations like Brazil, Mexico, and India. According to many dependence theory, the less developed country were understood as a part of whole process, whole global process. So this their fate is merely to provide uh, just a minute. Their fate is merely to provide input for advanced nation, and they provide low wage manufacturing under adverse item of trade. And dependency analysis was built on the idea of structuralist, and more specifically on the distinction between cause and periphery as the effect. And this theory found the cause for lack of dependent of external to socioeconomic formation of LDCs. LDC means less developed countries. Some basic premises in dependency theory. Number one, poor nation provide natural resources and cheap labor, and they are export destination for obsolete technology, and for market for the wealthy nation without which the latter could not have a standard of living what they enjoy. Poor nation are not its disadvantage in their market interaction with wealthy nation. And the second one is wealthy nation actively perpetuate of state dependence by various means. They influence this influence by multifaceted involving accessory economics like media control, politics, banking, finance, education, so many things of all aspect of human resources develop, including a recruitment and training of workers. Now the third is wealthy nation actively counter all attempt made by dependence nation to resist their influence by means of economic sanction, and possibly by the use of military forces. So this is all Rosenstein Rodin theory or big push theory. I would like to tell you some characteristic. Number one is exporting firm are primarily covered by foreigners. Number two, exports are dominated by one or few commodities, and the export sector dominate the economy. Imports are larger in relation to GDP. Even mineral and petroleum product are produced under vertical section. So this is all theory of dependency theory. Now come to the critical minimum effort theory. This is also called Liebenstein critical minimum theory, with the one professor Harvey Liebenstein. The overpopulated, underpopulated country are characterized by very vicious circle, and they have low per capita income. And his theory of critical minimum effort theory is an attempt to provide a solution of the this economic problem. So according to According to Professor Lipstein, he said critical minimum effort is a necessary to achieve a steady economic growth, raising per capita income. So the main idea of this theory is that economic growth is in the underdeveloped and overpopulated countries is not possible, and unless a certain minimum level of investment is injected into the system as a consolidated dose that pull the system out of the doldrums, and the minimum level of investment, this is called critical minimum effort. According to Lipstein, he said sufficiently large minimum effort is necessary at the outset, and if the necessary minimum is achieved, so it is very necessary for sustained economic growth of underdeveloped countries, and that have certain minimum sum of money is invested. Even Professor Lipstein added, in order to achieve the transition from the state of backwardness to more developed state, where we can expect steady secular growth, and it is necessary thought, not always sufficient condition, that at you can say the same point, and this is all certain critical minimum size. So he said, Lipstein said, every economy is under the influence of two forces. One is shocks, other is stimulants. Shock refer to those forces which reduce the level of output, income, employment, and investment, and shock dampen and depress the development forces. Stock depress development forces, and which reverse the wheel of development. And the other word is stimulants. It referred to those forces which raise the level of income output, वहां सिल्वर बॉक्स से, which level the income of output, employment, and investment. In other words, stimulant, impress, and encourage, you can say, encourage the development forces, and they are called income generating forces. So the long run of economic development does not take place in the backward or underdeveloped countries, as a magnitude of stimulant in those countries is quite small. Country said to be underdeveloped of the impact if the impact of shock is stronger than the impact of stimulants, and on the contrary, country is said to be developed if the impact of shock is weaker than the impact of stimulant. So this is all critical minimum theory. Critical minimum theories have three things: attitude, motivation, and incentive. According to Lipstein, he said the generation of stimulant depend on the attitude and motivation of the people, and increase incentive give to them. And the motivation and incentive are useless without the main factor of economic development. And the main factor of economic development are entrepreneurship, the inventor, the discoverer, the innovator, and those who can accumulate and utilize wealth, and those who can accumulate skill, spread knowledge. So no doubt the activities of a such person are endless, but we are study on those activity which are in position to generate stimulus and promote economic growth. So it require a continuous efforts of various agencies necessary for economic development. So it require a special type of human response to attitude, motivation, and it is created by economic and social environment. I am not going in detail about incentive and attitude. So this is all about critical minimum theory. Now come to the Gandhian model of development. This is very important for the rural development. And if we listen uh, and act on Mahatma Gandhi had to say on development, the focus is very simple. Mahatma Gandhi said the ultimate solution for the fighting poverty was not mass production, but production by the masses. This is very true. And I would like to quote one paper by Dr. Sanjeet Roy. He say, if we are if we are to contain massive migration, prevent the rich indigenous knowledge, culture, village skill, and practical wisdom in traditional society from disappearing into slum of the mega city and protect and improve the quality of life of village, when we have to apply the Gandhian model globally. And we have to trust and believe in ordinary people to offer simple, sustainable solution. So the million of families living in the marginalized, neglected, poor, exploited community and who cannot read or write or unable to think clearly themselves. So you can say who cannot read, write, unable to think them clearly for themselves or act respectively is wrong. So take, for instance, the role of solar energy as one solution to addressing climate change. And what we definitely don't need, you can say, World Bank and international donor agencies producing a voluminous, unreadable report telling developing countries about the infinite advantage of the Western model. And Gandhian solution is entirely based on practical common sense. It is absurd to force an urban solution to rural problem, and if we don't involve the local community in decision making from the every beginning, then all of the top down multi-million dollar project currently being planned globally in the name of the rural poor will colossal failure, guaranteed. So the Gandhian model does not believe in the subsiding business to produce cheaper solar panel on accessories. To force the rural poor to follow a business model and live sustainably is ludicrous. And interventions need to focus on empowering local government. So this is all about Gandhian model, and Gandhian model is partnership model that believe in inclusion and development with dignity, where everyone is treated as an equal and where everyone benefit. So the extent which we can manage this partnership will be one measure success. So this is all about the Ghanaian model. Now come to the your unit 7, block 2. And this is a area which I would like to cover. One is a approach of rural development, broad front approach, sectoral approach, area approach, target approach, integrated holistic approach. So the process and strategy of rural development is a may vary, that it depends on the situation and time. And rural development is a process which aims at improving the well-being and self-realization of the people living outside urban areas. And so the rural development may be regarded as the scheme of development of the rural area and its process and its aim at well-being of the people, particularly those living in rural area. So this is all approach. Now come to the these approach. It may be classified by rural development policy, where the strategies of rural development and lesson from the World Bank classification of the rural development. Classification is paternalistic, populist, technocratic, and radical. Paternalistic approach has been adopted in many rural development programs and many rural development efforts in early decade of the centuries, and the community development program, this is CDP, have accelerated rural development and keeping in mind this approach. So the model focus is to induct a government functionaries in the village who would act as a guide philosopher. The next is populist approach. It has become a more prominent In recent time, because of emphasis on Panchayati Raj and program of poverty elevation. So in this approach, the role of government is to ensure local endogamy, and this approach is presumed the rural people are vitally understand in change, and this change can transfer their lives if they their need. So in this approach proposed a pattern of development activities, and it is designed from bottom. Now the technocratic approach is a it increase the output of agriculture with the use of technology, and this is ignore concern about the institutional distribution. So these approaches, like you can say, one is a broad font approach. Broad font approach is this approach is a advises attacking the rural problem on all measure front simultaneously, so as to bring about the desired change in the living condition. So in this approach, following programs are going. The most important program is a community development program, which is launched in 1952. Now come to the sectoral approach. Sectoral approach is based on uh, Lipstein critical minimum effort theory, which I have told you earlier, and which calls for a concentrated effort to push the growth rate in a specific sector of the economy, and to the put agricultural economy on a path to rapid and sustainable development by making critical minimum efforts to help raise production and productivity in the agricultural sector. So a major engine of economic development besides agriculture sector allied to agriculture, like animal husbandry, has an important role in supplementing the income of rural people, and improving the health and nutritional conditions. So intensive agriculture area program, and intensive cattle development program are come into the sectoral approach. These things I will tell you later on. Now come to the area approach. Area approach is a many policymaker advent 4 and 5 year plan and realize the earlier approach is to rural development and increase regional imbalance. Earlier approach. So it was realized that no single approach was suitable for the area with different socio-economic and physical characteristic in different part of the country, and it was thought the area specific approach could reduce interregional disparity in growth and development, and by promoting all around of development of economically socially backward areas. So the government specific approach to the development of backward area, like hilly area, desert area, drought area, a few programs are launched in this approach, like tab coming means area development program, tribal area development program, drought prone area development program, which I will discuss later. Now come to the what is history of rural development in India. What is history? What is type? So I will tell you little bit history in very few. The as I told you, the to attempt to define rural area according to Whitaker day back 1874, when US Bureau of Census defined it is indicating the population of country exclusive of any town or any city with 8,000 or more inhabitants. And since there have been many attempts at defining the rural means, if one observe the trend of definition followed, one would clearly see the rural has always been defined in the relation with urban. So to understand the dimension of and approach of rural development, we must understand what rural development is. If if I give a definition of World Bank, he said rural development is a strategy to improve the economic and social life of the specific group of the people, and the rural people, uh, poor, including small and marginal farmers, tenants, and landless people. And the economic dimensions of rural development is the capacity and opportunity for people of rural area to participate in and benefit from the growth process, and it measure to reduce income disparity among various sectors. So, what is next? Next is the social dimension, which is encompasses overall development, and this overall development is include of a specific group like poor and marginalized community, disadvantaged section of society, to reduce the gap on social indicators. And it also include the promotion, you can say, uh, uh, promotion of gender equality and provision of social safety net for vulnerable groups. Political dimension include provision of low income group, women and ethnic minority to participate in the decision making process, and with the humanitarian approach penetrating the academic discourses. I can also include the most important and encompassing dimension of the rural development, that is human decision or human dimension. It focuses on humanitarian principle and values, thus keeping people in the center. So with this definition of rural and rural development, it clear and concept of its dimension knowns. I would like to tell you one multi-purpose approach. In India, rural development started with this approach, in this multi-purpose approach, and the community development program brought in with the year 1952. And this community development program aimed the developing material and human resources of the area through cooperative efforts of the people and the state. And the area covered under community development program, and this community development program including agriculture, animal husbandry, irrigation, cooperation, so many things. But even communication and housing also, education is also, but this approach failed to bring any observable changes in life of people, life of rural people. So it was felt that this happened because resources are very limited and there is no focus for development. uh, if come into the sectoral approach in 1960, the sectoral approach is main focus on agriculture, and this approach failed to visualize linkage of all sector. So target approach come, and target approach lagging behind by several things in rural development, and it was decided the specific group of people will be targeted under this approach. This target was very small for marginal and landless agricultural label, for whom small farmer development agency are made that time. Now this is also got fail. Now come to the area development approach. This approach emphasis on need to focus on a specific backward region, and this is adopted almost along in the target approach. It means so many programs in target approach like area development program 1972, hill area development program 1974 to 75, drought prone area development program 75 1970, desert development program, these are come in this approach. Now one basic and important approach is participatory approach. The current approach followed by the government of the rural development, and it is participatory in nature. And in this approach, people participation in the planning process is given much emphasis. Participation development is a process through which a stakeholder can influence and share over development initiatives and over the decision and resource affect themselves. So many programs under in this approach. This is all approaches and history. Now come to the told you. Now come to the next point, rural development policies. What is the rural development policies? I would like highlight the 7 major policies and what is exactly policies. One, a strategy consists of orderly of various policy parameter to attain the desired goal. Some 7 major development policies like land policy. Land policy is a crucial element in the rural development strategy. It is well known that the distribution of land and their other asset is very skewed in India, as a large majority of a small land holding, and it is this is attributed to fact the small peasant puts in the more intensive labor on the small plot that belong to him. Second is technology policy. It is a improvement in the technology available in the rural society, and it can have a big impact on them on the one hand, and it is very important that the newer technology are adapted to rural society on the other hand. So it is a necessary that the existing technology are extended to rural area. Technological planning, research and development are very vital ingredient of the rural development. So in India, agriculture sector is particularly vulnerable to ravage of the weather, and technological improvement can play a very important role in insulating agriculture from the effect of weather. Rural society are also it is also characterized by a large scale unemployment on the one hand, low productivity on the other hand. So it will this technological policy help in all problems. Now come to the other policy, like agricultural policy. Agriculture remain the main avenue of providing income and employment in a rural area, and needless to say, agriculture planning is vital for rural development strategies. So the balanced growth of the agriculture sector can play a very important role in creating better condition for the depending on this sector. Now another policy in rural development is a employment policy. Employment policy I have told you, I think. Now come to the education, research and extension policy. In India, the problem of literacy is a very particularly acute in rural area, and the lack of education can act as a constraint in the further rural development. So rural society are also characterized by a widespread inequality in the distributions. So this is all research. One I would like to tell you important policy is a rural institution policy. It needed to be reformed and utilized for a successful carrying out uh, rural development. And this institutional aspect of rural society are very often ignored when strategy are formulated. So the institutional structure such as like panchayat, it need to be nurtured so that there is a popular participation in rural development. So these are come in the rural development policy. Another one is a price policy is also, but not very important for you. Just give me 5 minutes. I think we should take 10-minute break and we will come back. Is it okay?
Thank you. It is the prime day. It is the great time in our country. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. It is great.
brothers, we need to take break at 5:30 or 35 because we
Okay.
still there's need for time for Maghrib prayers in the West Afghanistan.
Okay. Okay.
After 10 minutes, I think that would be better that
Better.
we take
Okay. Okay.
20 minutes, yeah, 20. I'm sure.
20 minutes. Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Do you hear me?
Yeah. What happened?
Just I want to make sure that you understand our aim that we told that we need to continue the lecture for 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes we take a break for prayers.
After 20 minutes, you need a break
Yeah,
for
yeah.
prayer.
We just discussed that now we still have time to go for prayers. We cannot
Okay.
go now. Yeah,
This time should I continue or should
yeah,
you take
yeah,
a
yeah.
break? Should I
Yeah,
continue?
yeah. We mean that you can continue for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we can take a break.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Okay, that's
Thanks.
no problem. I'm going to continue.
Thanks.
If
Thanks.
anybody left, please drop a message on your that WhatsApp group so that
Okay.
everybody can
Okay. I'll drop a
actually.
message.
Okay, okay, okay. So this is a classification of rural development. Before type of rural development, I would like to tell you classification of rural development. There are four type of classification. One is My slides are getting visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So for the development of any rural area, different school of thought suggest different way of development. And but it was realized that there is a no single universal method for the rural development. So we have some classification. Like one is technological gap strategy. It come in around 1950s, and dominant opinion emerged that the main cause of underdevelopment of rural area was the application of low level technology in agriculture and allied activities. So it made to fill the technology gap between developed and underdeveloped area of transfer of technology. Second gap is resource gap strategy. This strategy did not bring the desired result. Resource gap strategy came to emphasize during 60s, and it was felt that rural areas suffer from the inadequate resources, so it was needed to fill the resource gap by providing aid and capital loan. Third is organizational gap strategy. This is a very important, and this strategy is that the technology and resources are very much needed, but they cannot bring development without sound organizational setup. So in 1970, it was realized that there is no desire was made on the problem like rural poverty, unemployment, and underemployment, and social justice. So develop benefit because of lack of sound organizational gap. Third and the last strategy is a interdependence strategy. Uh, this is a balanced approach pursuing on balance between agriculture and industry sector, and it is very important to improve agriculture by taking a judicious development strategy and provide the right relationship between agriculture and industry in the process of development. So this strategy of interdependence is necessary for allied sector and like transportation, warehouse, food processing are some of the agricultural dependent industries which provide a ample opportunity to the rural sector to grow. So this is the classification. Now come to the type of rural development. First is a strategy based on collectivization of resources. This is a collectivization of resource is a asset is given utmost important, and the private ownership of the land is abolished so that inequality in the ownership of land and land use can be more productive. Now, the second one is a strategy based on regulated capitalist perspective. This strategy envisions a coexistence of capitalistic sector and the peasant sector. They get some support, same support and protection from the state. So any large scale distribution of the land or reconfiguration of land relation are ruled out. So this is a strategy based on regulated capitalistic perspective. You can say any large scale distribution of land or reconfiguration of land relation are ruled out, and it is hope the objective of rapid growth would be taken care of capitalistic sector, while the peasant sector and would address the problem of unemployment till the time of non-agricultural sector. Now come to the strategy based on peasant agrarian perspective. Peasant agrarian perspective argue for the thoroughgoing redistribution of land and overhaul of land relations, and it invises a strong support for a small peasant unit which are supposed to take care of twin objective of the growth and employment. These are the twin objective, growth and employment. So the extensive network of cooperative institution, marketing facilities, etc., is accorded critical importance. And this strategy, both in second and third strategy, is advises the state will play an important role in promoting the strengthening the you can say strengthening the society of rural area. So this is a, you can say, type of rural development. Laissez-faire I will tell you later, but before this I would like to tell you approaches of rural development. What approaches of rural development? Gandhian ideology concerning rural reconstructions, voluntary efforts, self-help groups, cooperation, self-reliance, and self reliance, like Gram Sabha, which is very important to all of us to identify the major framework. So I have told you about the what approaches, program, and objective of rural development. So no need to tell you, but I would like to tell you three things: social dimension, economic dimension, and political dimension. I need social dimension. As I told you my first lecture, I would like to tell you political dimension. Economic dimension is also encompass providing both capacity and opportunity for the poor and low income household in the particularly benefit from the economic growth. And political dimension improve the opportunity for the poor and low income people in the rural area effectively equally participate in the political process. But as you know, objective for the rural development is what is the objective of rural development is was one is improving the living standard of the for and providing food, shelter, cloth, education, employment, increase productivity in the rural area and reduce poverty. These are the you can say it is all objectives. So what is main thing is what is Gandhian ideology and voluntary efforts, these five things to give a more development in rural area. So now come to the framework. Framework I have told you earlier. Now approaches. This is a very important approaches. This is also related to rural development strategies, rural development approaches, and approaches of the rural development is a growing population, infrastructure development, unemployment are major concern of the rural development. These things are the major concern, and this is also approach. And rural development continue a high priority concern in both developed and developing countries. If inadequate development in the rural area can you can say can disrupt the nation food supply, and it lead to destruction of natural resources. So to address many issues that have affected the life of rural people, and several approaches were made to bring about the rural development in India. So like Gandhian ideology concerning rural constructions, rural reconstruction, voluntary effort, self-help group, which I have told you earlier slide, it is very important to all of us to identify the major framework of conceptual approaches which are related to rural development. Now, approaches I have told you: paternal, populistic, technocratic, and radical. Now come to the broad approach. What is broad front approach? This approach emphasizes attacking the rural problem of all major fronts simultaneously. So it bring about the desire changes in the living conditions of the rural people, and some these approaches have many programs are running, like community development program is 1994. So I will tell you later in coming lecture. Now come to the sectoral approach. This approach is based on Lepstein. I already told you. Area approach, I have told you. Now come to the this thing, area approach. This is a hill approach, tribal area approach, drought prone area approach, desert development approach. These are, we'll discuss one by one. This is an integrated approach which one program is running nowadays, integrated rural development program, which is important to in rural development, and rural, so many policies are going there through this program, integrated rural development program. So we need to learn by this program. This integrated rural development program is like a program for small scale industries, program for marginalized people. This is all integrated development program. Just a minute. Area approach have one important program is a hill area development program, that is called HADP. HADP program is initiated during 5th 5-year plan, and this plan uh, is for covered 15 district comprising all the hilly district of Uttar Pradesh, presently Uttarakhand, and Mikhir Hill, North Catcher Hill, Hill of Assam, Darjeeling, district of West. These are come under Hill Area Development Program. And the National Committee on the Development of Backward Area in 1981 recommended that all the hill area in the country having a height above 600 meter and not covered under tribal subplan, it is treated as a backward hill area. So the detailed plan for the development of hill area were drawn, keeping in view their topographical, ecological, social, and economic condition. And this program are aimed for harnessing an indigenous resources of the hill area through the development of horticulture, plantation, agriculture, animal husbandry, poultry, forestry, small scale industries, and village industries. So this is all hill area development program. Now come to the tribal area development program. This is called TADP. Tribal means those are related live in backward area,
Ma'am,
not.
sorry to interrupt. Then can we take a small break for prayer
Okay,
now?
okay, okay, okay. You
Thanks.
can take.
Thanks.
Okay. I think we can start.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, you can continue the lecture. Thanks.
Okay. This is a which I have led, but before this thing, I would like, I think I missed one development program, that is a community development program. I would like to tell you, community development program was introduced by in 2nd October 1952, and it constitutes the first organized effort for the rural reconstruction, and the community development program was conceived as an instrument to transform the social and economic life of the village and the community as whole, cutting across the caste, religion, and economic differences. Initially, this program covered 55 projects with the wide range of program for the development, agriculture, animal husbandry, rural industries, housing, rural communication, and all. So it was soon realized that covering the entire country under the CDP was not possible due to shortage of fund and personnel. So National Extension Scheme, that is NES, was launched in 1953, and with reduce a number of personnel and more modest financial provision, so development work could proceed on the basis of self-help effort. But after 3 years, the block covered under this NES were two covered into community development program blocks with the provision of 15 lakh for the 3 year for intensive development work in agriculture. So, and other activities like cooperation, health, sanitation, rural industries, housing, etc., etc. So the only difference between CDP, community development, and NEVAS was the in difference only. CDP was the more intensive program than NES, but both program are same. So, what is the objective of CDP? It is intended to promote rural welfare through the improvement of education, health, and to secure total development of material and human resources in the rural area, and also develop a local leadership and self-governing institution, and it also ensure the change in mindset of a people in instilling in them and mission of higher interest of self-help. So what is the main thing?
Sorry, sorry, teacher. Sorry, the interruptions. I don't know which unit is this one.
This is a 7.
7 unit.
Yeah, in block 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
So CDP exists some features. One feature is focused on mainly rural people or development for the rural people. And it is a process, not an event. CDP is not a process, not any event. And it is dynamic, unified problem solving approach. So some development in broad objective for CDP is economic development, social justice, and democratic justice. You can see a village in India, SC Dubey books. You can if you read this book, you can more understand, and some study material for some studies are there. So what is long term object? This community development had two type of program: long term and short term. Long term objective is a maximum increase in the agricultural production, solve the problem of rural unemployment, and to develop the more transport and communication, to improve the primary education, public health, and sanitation. And CDP is a integrated development of the whole community. People involvement must be spontaneous. So this is a CDP, as CDP is a process of administration. It is a national progress as whole. So the main community development program was the establishment of the program, evaluation organization under the planning commission. So what is the basic objective? According to one economist, Krishnamachari, he said the basic objective is of CDP is to assist 6 million family in the countryside in their effort to bring about the substantial improvement in the all aspect of life, whether economic, whether social, and all. Now come to the this slide. Hill area, I told you. Now tribal area. Tribal area means where the you can say detached from the village, detached from the city. Tribe means it is a, you can say Durkheim's concept is a primitive society, and primitive society have no culture, nothing. So if I say what is tribe, the term tribe through a regular word is a most uh, most you can say the tribe call themselves by name which as associate them to their land and surroundings. They declare themselves to be first inhabitant of their land or first human being. So this assertion through fall short in the constitutional framework of defining the tribe. It is based on their socio-economic status in comparison to other is comparison to other subpopulation of the country. So you can say tribes have is a group having a territorial affiliation, segmental solidarity like social and structural, no surplus generation, use of very simple technology, res- resilient to change, endogamous, no specialization of any function. So tribal situation, what tribal situation in India? In India, uh, total in India, 8.6% are constitute in total Indian population according to census 2011. They have always been delineated from the mainstream and Indian population through their physical and cultural characteristic being a part of this nation. They deserve attention and care at par and the rest of population. So because of isolation and social detachment over a year, they have been deprived from the society, deprived from the basic education, skill development, and growth of the modern world. So some scholars have tried to classify them to based on parameter for understanding their structure and need. So if in Indian tribes, they are the concentration of tribes varies in different region of India, and their major distribution in found in the north and the northeast India, central India, southern India, and Andaman Nicobar. Different tribes are recognized by the different economic level, like Negritos in the Andaman Nicobar. They are semi-nomadic tribes, and tribes show in India variability in term of their language, culture, tradition. So these tribes have many programs, and one is the famous program is Tribal Area Development Program, and they focused education, health, livelihood, culture. Culture means lack of awareness and preservation of tribal culture, interface with academic fraternity, and infrastructure mechanism, market linkage to promote tribal craft, absence of tribal museums on the tourist map of the state, and it leading the loss of traditional sports, crafts, medicine, medical practices, sense of alienation, loss of sense of ownership over the tribal culture, and loss of heritage. But but in tribal issues, Although the concern and perspective were the different, as I told you, so two major approaches in tribal area development program. One is a pre-independence approach, and this approach was used by the British to mitigate the suffering of the tribal and prevent their exploitation by outsider like money lender traders, and it was more ameliorative in nature and used an isolative strategy to make the task. And after post independence means it was realized that the tribal have lagged behind the development plan and required action. So they all required growth oriented strategy. So this is all tribal area development program. Now come to the drought prone area. Drought a prone area have the one objective is of this program to minimize the adverse effect of drought or production of crops and livestock and productivity of land. And they cover exclusion of 245 existing block, including 384 new blocks, and transfer of 64 blocks from uh, uh, drought prone area program to desert development program, that is DDP. Now come to the DDDP. This is a drought prone area program. No, desert development program, I would like to tell you first. This is a centrally launched scheme 1977 to 78, and it launched to minimize adverse effect of drought and controlled desertification through rejuvenation of natural resources, and it is totally based on identified desert. Now come to the one integrated watershed development program. This I would like to tell in the next session because it is related for that things. Now come to the marginal farmer. What is marginal farmers? In marginal farmers, RBI, Reserve Bank of India, had appointed in 1969 one credit, that is Rural Credit Review Committee in 1969. The chairman of this committee was V. Venkat Paya, and this committee recommended this integrated watershed development program. Now come to the next slide. Rural development policy. The rural development policy has defined a state-led activity and focused on development policy for rural development, and a policy targeted approach for the change in the rural society, which is promoted by the state directly or indirectly. Now come to the strategy of rural development program. Actually, time is less, so I would like to tell you. First is through World Bank. World Bank is a international affiliated and United Nations, and it is designed to finance projects that enhance the economic development of member state. And World Bank focus on resumption of agricultural growth, expanding non-agricultural rural development, greater emphasis on poverty alleviation, more emphasis on community development programs. This is World Bank policy. Now come to the classification of rural strategy. Rural development policy have make two type of classification. It emerged a distinct field of policy and practices in the area of research in the regional development, and it is particularly highlighted after the World Bank explicitly called for a rural and agricultural sector development, and World Bank also focus on bank draft policies. So this is a classification. And classification have 4 kind: technology gap strategy, resource gap strategy, organizational gap strategy, and interdependence gap strategy. Now come to the next. That I think I have told you, strategy based collectivization of resources. I have told you, I think. Can anybody tell me? Are you hear me?
Yes, yes, ma'am. We are hear you.
These 4 points I have told you earlier in this session. I think so. No. Okay, let's start. First strategy is collectivization of resource. It is a given utmost importance. The private ownership of the land uh, is abolished so that inequality in ownership of land and land use can be more productive. The second is regulated based capitalist perspective. This strategy for existence of capital sector and a peasant sector that gets same support and protection from the state, and any large scale redistribution of land or reconfiguration of land relation are ruled out. The next is your peasant agrarian perspective. It is argued through going redistribution of the land and overall of land relation, and it have a strong support for a small peasants. This is a your peasant agrarian society. Now come to the laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is an economic term, and this theory come from the 18th century and opposed any government intervention in the business. The driving principle behind laissez-faire is a French term. This is a French term. It means leave alone, literally let you do. This is this that the less government is involved in the economy, the better of businessmen will be, and by extension society as whole. So laissez-faire is an economic philosophy of free market capitalism that oppose government intervention, and this theory was developed by a French physiocrat during the 18th century. This theory is advocate the economic success, and it is inhibited when government are involved in the business and market. And this theory built on idea is path to economic prosperity through detractor have criticized. And this is also makeup of fundamental of laissez-faire economy include idea that economic competition it constitute natural order. So laissez-faire is often associated with the libertarian view on the economy, where the government play an extremely limited role in the economy. In fact, the key characteristic of laissez-faire is that the government should only be involved in 3 functions. One is protecting the national border. Second is protecting private property, private right, and personal freedom via police force and judiciary. Third is public good, which serve society, like park and libraries. Market would not be incentivized to produce its own. So it is a doctrine of laissez-faire is one of the first. This laissez-faire is a first economic theory and flourished in France from 1956 to 78. So this is all laissez-faire. One point also I would like to tell you, laissez-faire is a practice developed further by the such British economists like Smith and David Ricardo and ruled during the Industrial Revolution. So now come to the 8th unit. This is a rural development in India. Rural development in India have a community development program, Green Revolution, which I have told you. Now come to the a special program for area development and poor farmers, and direct attack on rural poverty, which is beneficiary approach, wage employment, and current status of rural development program and emerging challenges. I would like to tell you wage employment program this time. This include any salary or paid job under contract to another person, organization, or enterprises in the both formal and informal economy, and people with disability of faces by many barriers to finding decent wage. So access to wage employment should always be considered option for a people with disabilities interest in the work. And this wage employment program is supported by Article 27 of the Convention on the Right of the People with Disability. And through inclusive wage employment program, many potential barriers can be diminished, and people with disability have increased opportunity to access to paid work. So this is all wage employment work. Now come to the beneficiary approach, direct attack on rural poverty. This approach is focused on gaining insight into community perspective through interview and group discussion at the community level, by working with member of similar community, like peer group, as a field researcher. So this is all. Now come to the green revolution. I have told you. Yes. Now, this is the introduction about rural development. I think I have told you, and many times keep telling you. Community development program, I have told you. This is done. This is also done. Direct attack on rural poverty, not very important, but I will quote one study from Rural Development Forum. He said the incident and intensity of poverty is usually higher in rural areas. So many programs are like CDP, IADP, IA, followed by the Green Revolution. And this is a direct attack on rural development. Now, all I have told you. This is a wage employment program, like creation of demand for labor, assurance for paying minimum wage, exertion of upward pressure on the real wage, protection of the consumptions pattern of the rural poor during natural calamities like drought, strengthening of finance of panchayat, particularly in backward area, inadequate employment and limited resources. These points are for wage employment program. This is all. Now come to the current status. What is current status of rural development program and emerging challenges? What problems are facing? Look, India is a country of contrast where rapid economy growth coexists with persistent poverty and social problems. And the rural areas, which about 2/3 of the population are undergoing significant changes in the living standard, in education, health, and environment. So in India, rural landscape undergoes a transformative journey marked by commendable decline, multi-dimensional poverty. So one Ayog, that is Niti Ayog. Niti Ayog means it is encouraging narrative progress of showcasing substantial reduction in poverty rate between 2015 to 2016. So, but what are the sign of improvement of rural living standard? First is, I think, enhance housing infrastructure like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, improved sanitation, Swachh Bharat Mission, electricity access, Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana. These things I will tell you in detail in my next unit. So this is Ujjwala. So many programs are going for in reference of rural development. Now come to the what issues in developing are chalking futures. It means rural development is a process of improving quality of life and economic well-being of the economic well-being of the people living in rural area. So the major source of rural income depend on the agricultural output and laboral engagement. So if I observe in data census, about 88.84% of Indian population lives in village according to 2011. So some issues in like poverty, healthcare system. I always keep telling you these are the productive resources, development in infrastructure. These things are issues in rural development and some future strategies. So thank you. If anyone question, anyone queries, you can ask me. Actually, I'm not well this time. So please ask any question, whatever you want regarding my lecture.